Hi everyone, Robin here from Gardening with Mama Bird. It's Saturday morning. It was a long work week, a busy work week, and last night we had some showers, so it softened up the soil. So I thought this would be a perfect day to get out and pull some weeds along the area where I want to plant my snapdragons. And I have 7 trays of snapdragons and just a small yard. So this is going to be some work in progress for me to figure out where to put it all. So I have a plan, and hopefully I can get the majority of them in my yard in various places. And if not, then I'll share some with others. Let me show you what I have. So this is what I planted up inside the house under my grow lights, or actual shop lights, that I tried out this year. And I went kind of crazy on the snapdragons. I haven't done snapdragons before, and so I couldn't make up my mind which ones to choose from. So this is what I got. I have some cherry twist. These are in this container. I have some Lucky Lips, bridal pink, 20 apple blossom, which I already have a blossom coming out in this. Look how pretty the inside of that. It's got some water in there from the rain last night. I have Madam Butterfly, a full tray. Rocket Mix, that one's an overabundance because I just sprinkled everywhere. I think I was tired by the time I got to that tray. This one is Potomac Early Spring Sunrise, Potomac Berry Blend, and I did snip the tops of them to help promote more stem growth. And what I've done is I have marked them by height. So my plan is the ones that are like a foot tall or taller, I'm going to find an area on the side yard to plant them. And then the ones that are shorter, I'm going to try to plant those out in my garden beds out in the front landscape. I don't think I have any spots in the back landscape, but we'll see. So let me show you where I plan to do that. It's on the other side of the house where I need to do some weeding. And I've grown zinnias over there before, and they did really well. I had a lot of fun with those, watching them grow. And as you can see, I have some bedding areas back in here that's just a mess. I feel like spring hits and you plan all these projects, and now I feel like I'm on project overload, but I'm going to get this done. I actually have some reseeded bells of Ireland in here that grew from last year. So I may be picking some of those. So this is the area that I plan to weed. Right now it's still early morning, a couple hours before noon, I think. So the sun, as you can see, is about ready to get over to this area. These metal pieces are from an old patio cover. And what I do is I plant up the area. Instead of putting netting or something, I'll place these above so the snapdragons can grow up between. So let me get this area weeded and see how many I can fit in this garden bed. So this is the area along the side of my house that I had zinnias before. This time I'm going to try the snapdragons. So the first ones that I'm going to plant are the Potomac Early Sunrise mix, and they get 40 to 60 inches. So it'll cover in this area quite nicely. And I'll show you over here, what I've decided to do is I'm going to plant them about 7 inches apart. And I thought I was only going to have 2 rows to fit in here, but I left about 3 inches from the fence line to put my first one, and then every 7 inches from there I space them. And then what I'm going to use as my spacer to go is each fence board is about 6 or 7 inches, so I'm going to use that as my guide throughout this whole garden bed for spacing. Before we get started with planting all the seedlings that I have, I wanted to show you a tool that was sent out by Berry and Bird. I've been using it over the last few weeks to weed in the garden, and it's become a tool I use every day. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it, but I do. I love it. And it's a 5-in-1 tool. It has an area where you can measure. It's stainless steel. It has an ash handle with a little leather strap so you can hang it if you have an area to hang your tools. It has a cutting notch and cutting edge. The pelargonium plants that I had in the ground that I was trying to pull, this would have been a great tool for the roots as I was digging down to cut some of those roots as I was pulling them out of the ground. But I think my favorite part so far is this little notch in it to weed. We get a lot of clover around here, and this is perfect for digging down in the ground and pulling it up just by the root and not disturbing too much around it. And also some of the broadleaf weeds. Today, my plan is to use it to dig a small little hole to put my seedlings in instead of a bigger shovel. So we'll get started in planting these, but I wanted to share with you this tool, and hopefully I will have a coupon code in my description area if you would like to purchase this. Okay, now that I've laid it out, I'm wondering if I should plant these every 6 inches and then this second row come in a bit so it's like a triangle as they're planted in here to give a little bit more airflow. The only thing I'm contemplating with that is the drip line and how it's going to go down the row, if I'll have to add extras. I'll have to determine whether I want it, which way I want to do it. But look at the roots. Those are ready to come out and go in the ground. So they're going to be happy little plants being in the ground. I think my supervisor has the right idea. I had to bring out an umbrella because even though it's a fairly cool day, when you're sitting out in the sun, it gets too warm. Okay, I got 3 varieties over on this side, and it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I did take a little lunch, but it's quite warm, so we've been under an umbrella, and my supervisors are close by. But next, what I'm going to do is draw the 2 drip lines that I have down the line, and I'll have to add a couple more. So now what I need to do is I'm going to add another line for each row, and then I need to order more landscape staples. And actually DripWorks I found has landscape staples, but they call them hold downs, and they're in 3-inch, and you can get them in a 100-pack for a reasonable price. So I'm going to order them from DripWorks, and I will have a discount code for you if you'd like to order them from DripWorks. Hi, it's been a week since I've been out here working on the Snapdragons, and the work week was super busy. And yesterday, Saturday, we had rain all day, quite a bit of rain actually. Today, the high is 55, but by the end of the week, it's going to be in the 80s. So I want to add my drip line and get them covered so that little dogs can't get into it, and then move on to another project. So let's finish this project up. So this is the area I want to add a couple more lines, and I already have 2 lines coming in here. And off of my main water supply line, I like to add these little what do I want to call them? Switches on and off where I can turn them off if I'm not using this area. So I've purchased more of those, and you can see there's a little arrow on it. So if the arrow is not pointing down here, then it's off. But if you turn it towards the line, then your water will run through the line. So I add those at the end to conserve water if I'm not using a bedding area. And then I'm going to be using this drip line, which is 1/4 inch, and it has little emitters every 6 inches. So it's about the spacing of the Snapdragons, so it should get sufficient amount of water. And this is by tempo, which I usually find at Home Depot or my local garden center. And then I'm also going to use what I have, but I still need to order more, is the 3-inch landscape staples, or they might be called hold downs. So I'm going to add those in there to keep the lines from shifting around too much when the water comes on. Okay, I ran in the house real quick because I always nuke a cup of water for about a minute because I struggle a little bit with the strength of my hands to get the emitters on the ends of these. So what I do is I soak them in the hot water and it makes it pliable, the tip, so I can then go ahead and put the emitter on the tip. So what I'm going to do first, because there's an emitter at the end and it doesn't allow me enough room, is I'm going to cut that emitter off. And then I'm going to set this aside and I'm going to make sure I have the right side to puncture a hole in here. And I think I'm going to do it down here, and that I don't put the hole on the wrong side. So there's my hole. Now I'm going to soak the tip of my line in the water for a second to make it pliable so I can get the on and off switch on there. That should do it. And then I'm going to slide that on. Slides on so much easier when you soak it a little bit. Let's move this out of the way so I don't spill it. You heard the line pop. So I'm going to turn it on so I don't walk away later and forget it. And now I have another line to drag down to the other end. Okay, I thought maybe I was going to add 4, but what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to run it during the week with the 3 and see if it's a sufficient amount of water for the 4 rows that I have. And if not, then I can always add another line. So I brought it down here. It's amazing how tall some of these has gotten in just 1 week. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the camera down and show you how I plug the end up. The other thing I should have mentioned is when you're getting ready to lay your drip line, if you can set this whole roll out somewhere in the sun, it will soften up and become more pliable, and it's much easier then to lay your lines. So I'm going to come along to cap this off, and I'm going to actually leave a little bit extra in case I need to shift it. So I'm going to cut it. Here's an emitter and there's an emitter. They're 6 inches apart. So I'm going to cut it in midway. I'm going to soak it in the water to soften up the line so I'm able to put the plug at the end. And then I'm going to take the plug and push it on. So there, it's capped off and no more water will go out this end. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these corners that I kept from an old patio cover, and they're great for support when the plants need support and I don't want to put netting down. I just lay it over the top here carefully. And it's also a great deterrent, let me see, for my dogs not to climb over in here. So I'm going to place one along here. Then I'm going to take this, which the neighbor gave me. It's from an old bed and it's metal. And I lay this across here to keep the dogs out. It's not fancy, but it does the job. And then lastly, the other piece that I have, I'm going to put it along there. Let's adjust this a little bit so my pups will stay out and they're protected. So now all of them, if they need to grow up and they need support, these rungs on these will come up through and be supported by it. So I have 3 different varieties planted in here. I have Potomac Early Sunrise, Potomac Berry Blend, and lastly, Madame Butterfly. As I was sitting here looking at these, I realized some of them could get 40 to 50 inches tall. And I didn't use this metal device. I just had the corner patio covers, which supported the zinnias really well. So I may have to, in this center section, come through and provide some type of support as they grow up. So I'll have to keep an eye on those. Anyhow, that does it for this Snapdragon garden bed, and I'll have some cut flowers. I'm super excited to see how they do. And thank you for joining me in the video, and I hope you have a wonderful day.